What's going on, guys? Kwasi here for Kwasi Media Network and Kwasi Animation Studio. Today, I want to show you something. Now, I'm going to show you can do pretty much anywhere. So, I'm not going to be saving this, but I will be showing you definitely how to do it. 1 second, you might hear a little noise here. I'm adjusting my microphone. All right. So, we're going to adventure into something. So I'm in Eevee. I'm gonna stay in the Eevee viewport. I'm gonna bump this up to 64. Okay. All right. In the viewport, I'm gonna turn on my ambient occlusion, bloom, and screen space reflections. Now understand, mine are different. Yours probably be default. Mine is my distance on my ambient occlusion is 1 meter. My factor is 3, and my trace precision is at 1. Okay. My bloom is 5.3 on the radius and intensity at 0.505. Okay. My screen space reflections is only checked on refraction. Trace precision is supposed to be 1, so let's put it at 1. Okay. And my thickness is 1 meter, and my edge fading is 0.1. Okay. So with that being said, we're not going to save anything. I'm gonna go up here, and this is, as you probably saw in the thumbnail, what we're doing. So I'm going to show you the process for how I develop it. Okay, so let's go. So first off, name the collection. So we're just gonna say that this is a skill. So we're just gonna go skill, right? I'm gonna put it in all caps. Okay, and then the next bit, excuse me, then I'm gonna add another collection, which will be blast orb, which will be the core. I'm sorry, I didn't spell all of that out. Which would be the core component, like the entire thing for it, right? Okay, and then in that, I'm gonna create another one, and this one will be the actual blast beam. All right. This way that you don't just have one thing. Okay, you want to have more than one thing. So we're gonna also do the materials also. All right. Next thing, excuse me. Now, because I want them in 2 separate places, even though they're gonna be one, each one of these is gonna have their own particle and their own emitter. All right. So, and also force fields. Okay. Most people don't think about force fields or use them, but you go down here, you have force fields, the things that can help your particles move a certain way. People don't talk about this often. I never really see it. So let's deal with the orb first. All right. So what I'm going to put in is a sphere. We're going to go up to it. I'm going to hit 3 to go straight to the side view. This is the front view, the side view. Okay. You can do that up here as well. You can just click. All right. And go to what you need to go to. So I want it on the side view here. Now I'm gonna go to my transform. Of course, you can do your transform up here in the item or whatnot, but I'm not gonna do that. Okay, so on the X, I'm gonna go negative. All right, so I'm gonna go negative 90. Excuse me. And then I'm coming to edit mode. I'm gonna click the first, the vert on the top. Go back into 3. I'm gonna go into edit, proportional editing, connected only, and I'm gonna go random. All right. So now I'm going to hit GY, and then I'm going to scroll up until I get a specific look I want. All right, so that's not too bad. All right, so now we got that. All right, so now this is going to be the actual thing that like hits. Okay, so I want this part to be here. All right, so I'm going to hit Shift S2. All right, go back into actual object mode and take the set the origin to the 3D cursor, and then I'm going to set the cursor back to the world origin, and then I'm going to hit Shift S8, which is going to take the object to 3D cursor. I'm going to smooth this. I'm going to go into the object data properties. I'm going to go into normals and click that. All right, so now we have this. Now you say, oh, that already looks cool. Well, we're gonna do a procedural texture for this. All right, so this is the first one. So I'm just gonna name this one the orb. All right, so we have the orb. Now I'm gonna hide this orb because I don't need this yet. So now we're gonna do the blast. Now understand what I say about doing the blast. I'm going to merely copy this one. So I'm going to hit Shift D and not Shift Alt D. Okay, because I don't want these two to alter each other. All right, so I'm gonna go back and hide this one again. All right, so now this time I want the origin to be on this side, but we're gonna adjust the movement on it first. I'm just gonna get it kind of towards the middle. All right, let me go back to 3. All right, let's see. Okay, so now I'm gonna rename this one Beam. All right, so this is gonna be the beam. Now, the difference here is when I come into edit mode, I still have a clean path here. If we go to wireframe mode, I have a clear path here, okay? I'm gonna select just this part, okay? Matter of fact, I'm wrong. I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna do a, yeah, there we go. So I'm gonna put a loop cut in there, and then what I'm going to do is push back on the Y. I do not want this to turn your proportional editing off. You can hit O to turn it off. I'm gonna slide back a little bit. All right, so now I'm gonna come back, yay big, yay far. Now this is all wider than that, so I'm just gonna push it down a little bit, and I think I need to S Shift Y. There we go, S Shift Y, and then I'll bring it back up a little bit more. All right, so this one right here, I feel like it's a little bit. There we go. Okay, nope, not wide enough. Alrighty then. All right, so now, like I did the last time, I'm gonna click this first one. I'm gonna put that there. Go back into object mode. Let's go back into solid mode. Origin to 3D cursor. The cursor back to word origin, and then boom, voila. All right, so now we have our blast, and then we have our orb. Okay, now I'm going to have. So I'm gonna hide this one as well, and then now add a new collection, which will be the starter orb. So I'm gonna just put energy start, no, blast start. I'm sorry, blast start. And why am I labeling these things? So when I go to use them in a collection somewhere, they're all categorized. So when you bring in skill, you're gonna bring in all these things, all right, in one time, and then you use them individually. You can close those collections if you like. All right. Okay, so now let's see. So now this one's going to be simple because it's just going to be a sphere. All right, and I'm just going to smooth that sphere. I'm not going to do anything particular to it, even though I am going to rotate it on the X 90 degrees. All right, and then I'm just going to come in and call it energy gather. Okay, so this is where the beam starts, like, you know, or whatever. All right, so now I'm going to hide that one, and then we're going to go back to the actual. I'm going to unhide the orb. All right, okay, so now being as the beam faces the opposite direction, I figure I'm just going to turn this one around. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it around on at 180. Okay, so we're going to have them facing the same direction. All right, and then let me think. Do I want to change anything else about that? No, I want the rotation to stay where it is, so I'm going to go ahead and do rotation on both of these. Click it, and then because I want the rotation to already be that way, so rotation. All right, same thing here, rotation. So we're going to set the rotation, and then don't have to worry about that again. Now close those two. I'm sorry, close this one, and we're going to do the actual blast orb. So I'm going to go into render preview. Wait till it loads up, and then now we start. So I'm gonna just I'm gonna call this one orb, and instead of using I want it to still be a PBR style. So basically I'm gonna use the emission on the principal shader. All right, so I'm not gonna change that. All right, so I keep hitting save. I do not intend to save this. All right, so with that being said, since this is not going to have any shine or anything like that, I'm gonna cut all of that off. Don't need any of that. Okay, so from over here, I'm going to pick a color. I'm not going to pick a color because it's just going to use the base emission. I'm going to use the emission for that, but we are going to put in a mixed shader, and why I'll show you momentarily. So bring in a transparent node, and then drop that in there, and then we're gonna go. And I was doing originally when I did this, I keep the shadow zone, but I'll just put alpha hash for the shadow, and I'm gonna use alpha clip for this, and there's a reason for that. Okay, so now we're gonna bring in a color ramp and a noise texture. Okay, so bring in a noise texture, and then hit Control T to bring that up. All right, I'm going to duplicate. Hold on. Going to duplicate this mapping node, and then I'm gonna shift select and hit F. All right, so now, okay, and again, I'm in Blender 2.91. I can't use 0.3. I can't use 3 yet because I have Windows 7 and it's not supported. I'm gonna bring in a gradient, but you can still do this in Windows 3 because I used the Blender game engine, the UPBGE, and it works just fine because it has all of the features and it works in Windows 7. It's supported and it has all the features, but I'm not using that because I don't want anyone to get a misconception when they see any other tutorial I have. All right, so I'm going to bring in that's a gradient node. Now we're going to bring in a mix RGB. All right, and then from there, I'm going to bring the factor into the top color and the color into the bottom color, and then the color into the factor of the color ramp node. Now, being as there's no particular color on here, right? One, you can't see it because it's clipped. Two, it has to be the measure has to be different. So now let's go and add the color ramp to the factor. All right, so this is what we have right now. All right, see how it's half and half? So what I'm gonna do is come over here and I'm gonna, let's see what happens if I do 90. All right, let's do -90. All right, and then if I beef it up, let's see. So yeah, it's gonna be on the bottom, and I don't want that. All right, so I'm thinking the rotation for this, may be, let me go back to 0. I think the rotation for this may be on the Z or the Y. I mean the X. Let me see, let's go 90. No, -90, no. Huh, interesting, 90. Let me see. All right, I think we may have it here. All right, yeah, it's -90. Okay, so I'm gonna bring it out only so far because I'm going to be using this as the control point. All right, and then we're gonna adjust those colors because I'm gonna bring those colors down to here. So I'm gonna put in another color ramp. Matter of fact, I'll just get this one, duplicate it. Come on, thing, tripping. Duplicate it. Hit backspace to clear it. And then we're going to start adding colors. So I'm going to add at least 2 other colors. And let's throw this into the emission. And then I'm going to add, apparently it's loading. And for this, I'm just going to use a yellow color. I'm going to beef it up to 3. All right. And then I'm going to bring that same color up to the base so that it by default shows that color. All right. I'm so used to saving, I just keep doing it. Okay, so now this next color, I'm gonna make it more of an orangish color. Get real tight in there. And then this one, I'm gonna get real close to black. All right, so now let's push these colors around a little bit. I'm gonna go to ease. And I think the closer I get to the edge, matter of fact, let me come up here. Gotta play with it a little bit, guys. All right, push it back some. I think I want to go harder to the back side of this. All right, so you want to get it to start bleeding into these other parts, but you have to break it up a little bit also. So I'm gonna go 6 on that, 0.85, 0.3, and let's see what I get if I go 6. Okay, so now if I pull back on this a little bit, all right, yeah, okay, it's starting to pan out a little bit. I'm so used to doing that. Okay, so now let me see if we can start. Oh, okay, another thing too is I'm gonna bring this down to here. I'm gonna bring from the color ramp. I'm sorry, not from the color ramp. I'm doing that wrong. I do not want it from the color ramp. Come on, thing. You're thinking too much. All right, no, I don't want it from the color ramp. I want it from the mix RGB. All right, so drop it to the mix RGB. And there we go. All right, so now the colors are starting to blend a lot better now. So I'll pull back some on this and get it a little dark in there. Matter of fact, I'm gonna push this to the end and bring the black up. There we go. Yes, sir. All right, so there we go with our blast. All right. Okay, so now, all right. Oh, and then we'll just finesse this a little bit more. So the further back I go, the darker is gonna, all that is gonna be, right? So I'm gonna control it from here, and I want just a little darkness on the end of it. I know if I switch this one up, it'll pull the same thing. The further back I go, okay. So I want to have a little blackness on it, not a lot. And then over here, I'm gonna come to our X, pull back a little bit more, just a little bit, not a lot. All right. I'm so used to doing that. Now, on this top one, let's figure out which one is going to be the best route. So I'm gonna assume that the best route will be taken by why can't I see the thing? Oh, the best route will be taken by the Y. Okay, so if we go on the Y, you see how it's pushing it back in the negative? Okay, so we'll do that. All right, so I'll go 0, click this, I'm gonna go pound frame / or divided by, and I'm gonna go -30 and go. There we go. Okay. All right. So now we turn it off. We got something nice there. Now the next part is to make it wiggle. So we're gonna go to our modifiers. We're gonna put in a wave modifier. All right. And then here we're gonna go align, and then want it to be cyclic. I'm gonna turn off the Z. And then I'm gonna start scaling. So I want to bring this down a little bit. All right, I'm gonna leave it like that. Bring the width down a little bit. The narrow, crank it. We're just trying to find enough, just enough of it. Now put the Z back on. All right, just enough. All right, so let me show you what I'm saying. When we take that off, all right, because we want it to move. We still want it to move a little bit. So I don't want it to go so fast that you can't. All right. All right, there we go. All right, so now we got something that looks like it's doing a little wobbly flying. All right. Okay, so that's the whole point. All right. So there we go with that. I keep wanting to save. All right, so that's the first one, right? So we already have that one set up. This one's good. So now understand this same one we're gonna keep. So I suggested what the best thing to do is to make a fake user just in case you accidentally delete something. All right. So now we're gonna hide this one, and we're gonna bring the beam in. So now we have the beam in there. Now this may have to change a little bit, but I'm gonna bring the orb in. You see how it's the opposite direction? That's no worries. We're gonna literally do this. So I'm gonna go over here and make new material, and then I'm gonna go beam. All right. So, and that reason why I tend to do stuff in caps is just to make it stick out. Okay. So now with this one, the difference is we want it to go the opposite direction. Okay, so I'm gonna go 0 on this because I don't want trouble, and I'm gonna go -90. You see what happened there, right? All right, so all right, so now with the X, I can do this, and I get real tight. So we know it's going the wrong direction on the Y. So come back in, and the only thing you have to do, click it, and go in and remove the minus sign, and boom, there we go, right? Okay, so now when I turn it off, we see that it's kind of a little too dark on the end. I don't want that. So I'm gonna pull back some on that. All right. Okay, so now this time I'm gonna add another color. And I think I'm gonna add it like right here. And I want it to be almost a bluish purple. Okay, so I know that if that color is too far forward, all right, so let me pull it forward some more to break it up a little bit. There we go. All right. Let's bring that yellow up some more. Oof. Okay, let's get in tight now. Hold shift. Click that one. Hold shift. Yes, sir. All right. Click this one. Click that one. All right. So I'm gonna pull this yellow one back a little bit more. I think I'm gonna switch these. I'm gonna switch this color. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Now, that is just it doing that. Now, if you want to make this go wider or bigger, let's pause it for a second to go back into solid mode. So let's say, for instance, you want to take this object, right? And you go in and you take that object and you say, you know what, I want this part to be bigger. So let's go into wireframe mode, hit 3, and then I'll just come in and just grab this. And I'll probably put on proportional editing and then scale it. So now, instead of it just being this way, now when I go to do it and I go back into render mode, now I have like this gigantic blast that's bigger here than it is in the other place. Now, the next thing I would do is grab this one and then just trying to find the right spot for it. There we go. I think that's better. Yeah, way better. You know, so boom. Now we have that one, right? Okay, but I want to add something to this. So we're going to go back into the render mode. I'm going to hit tilde 4 because I want to go on this side of it instead of 3. Okay, matter of fact, we'll just do it over here. All right, so okay, so now for this one, you could do the same thing. Add that same wave modifier. So if I click this one and I go to the wave modifier, right? And all right, let me put it on the screen because I want to have, so I'm gonna click that and then I come up here and shift click. I mean, I can't think of the word, man. All right, so pardon me. Let me think. I'm trying to think about how do I do this automatically. Cause I don't usually do this where I have it like copy a modifier or something, and I'm not sure if I can do that. I don't think that's possible yet, and if it is, I don't know. So you can leave a comment if you know better than I do. So I'm cool with it, that if you do. All right, so I know I want this modifier. The problem is I don't have a way to save it. And I don't like that. So see, it allows me to duplicate it, but I can't copy it. What if I save it as a shape key? Save it as a shape key. I like that. Problem is I don't like that. Let's get rid of it. Alright, because it's still there for the beam. I just want to add it to the beam, but okay, anyway. So we're going to add the same effect, do the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and turn on align normals and push all this down so it's not over the top. I'm going to turn the orb off and let's go. So we know we kind of want this one to be a little bit bigger. We turn all it off so it looks more natural. Alright, yeah, so let me pull this back a little bit. Put some fall off in there. All right. Excuse me. Yeah. So yeah, there you go. So if you want more wave, you can have more wave or whatever. That's fine. Okay, so that's done for that. Now what I want to do is not save. All right, so we hit 3. And underneath this one, I'm sorry, we got one more to do, don't we? So let's do the next one. Go back into shading. I apologize. All right, so I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna go over here to beam. I'm gonna go ahead and hit that, and then I'm gonna go energy gather. Okay. So as you can see, it's not completely covering it. I still want those colors, but this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take this to 0. Do this, and we're gonna go 90. All right, so I'm gonna go negative 90. Matter of fact, no, I'm gonna do it like that. I'm good. So bring it up. All right, and I don't want it to completely close. There's a reason for that. Okay, so I'm gonna come over here to the transparent node, and I'm gonna bring the vibrancy down a little to make it a little dark right there. All right. And then on this one, I'm going to bump this up to 1 because I want it to be swerving and swirling. I'm going to delete the driver, and then I'm going to look at what makes more sense. So we know we want it together. All right. So let me see what it looks like from this angle. All right. So I'm going to put a driver on this X if with 60, negative 60. I'm going to put a driver on the Y at negative 80. I'm sorry, at 80. No, negative 80. and then I'm going to spin it on the X. I mean on the Z. I'm sorry, on the Z rotation at negative 70. All right. Okay. So now for these colors, I'm gonna do a little switch up. I'm gonna do a little switch up. Put this towards the middle some. Bring that back a little. Bring some darkness in now. Darkness. All right. All right. There we go. Pull that down some more. Okay. Brighten it up a little bit. Because we're gathering energy now. Okay. So now when it swirls, catch that? Alright. Okay, so now we're going to start with this one and then we're going to go from there. So this is the one we're going to start with. Alright. So I'm going to do it from the front. It doesn't make a difference. Alright. So I'm going to click this. I'm going to put in a plane. Alright. Now, no, I'm sorry, not for this one. We're not going to use a plane for that one. My bad. I'm going to put in an icosphere. Okay. I want the sphere to be inside of this one. I'm going to put the sphere inside, and then I'm going to just say that it is a gather emitter. Right. All right. So gather emitter. All right. Let's check our time. 25 minutes. Okay. And then with the gather emitter, I'm going to go to particles, but I'm going to add an icosphere. I know it might be weird, right? And I'm just going to name it particle T-col gather. All right. And I'm going to bring it down. I just want to push it down below all of that because I don't intend for it to be on the scene or in the screen. Okay. Make it small. And then I'm going to give it and again, I'm using all of the emissions are going to be coming from the principal BDSF. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go particle gather. All right. And I'm going to give it a yellow color. Same thing for the emission. All right. I'm not going to use an emission. It's a reason for that. I'm going to get this 120. All right. All right. So now we know that particle is going to be used with this emitter. So we're going to go to this. So now with this emitter, I'm going to go in and I'm going to give it a material also, call it by its name. Going to remove the principal shader, and I'm going to add a transparent shader. Yep, transparent shader. I don't want any shadow, and we're gonna go alpha clip. Okay, because I want it completely to disappear. I don't want it to even be seen at all. Then we're gonna go to particles. I'm gonna click particle in, and for this one, I'm gonna type in 2500. I'm going to start it at frame 1, which is fine. And then because we're doing what we're doing, I'm just going to give it 200 frames. All right. I'm going to give it a random liveness of lifetime randomness of 0.5. And I'm going to give it a 20, a 20 lifetime. Okay. All right. For the field weights, I'm going to go 0 on gravity. All right. Render. And of course, we got to add our object, which would be the particle gather. All right, so that's done. I'm gonna start slow on building this. So I want the particles to come out. So those particles are not coming out far enough for me. So I'm gonna go to this, make this 30. All right, so let's start it over. All right, okay, cool. That's not too bad. I think that they're still too small. I also don't think it's enough of them, but let's go 50. Let's go back to 50. There we go. That's better. That's better. All right. So now this time, what you're going to see that's different is now with this here, I'm going to add a force field. Now the force field is going to be a magnetic force field. Boom. So go over here to the actual physics properties. I'm going to give it a 5 on the strength and a 2 on the inflow, and we're going to hit play. We're gonna see how much it's affecting. Okay, so I'm gonna turn the inflow off because the inflow tends to be the thing that creates the biggest issue. All right, so I just wanted to flow a little Yeah, I wanted to disrupt it just a little bit, and that does it just a little. Okay, now I'm going to add another force field, and this time the force field is going to be turbulence. Okay, so with the turbulence, I'm going to give it a 6 with a size of 0.5 and an inflow of 0.3. Okay, and this is just a matter of just making it break up. You see that, right? Okay, so this light stuff. All right, so when I go in now, mind you, I'm about to take all of these objects. I'm going to select them. I'm going to shift click the gather object, and then I'm going to control P and make them all one object. So when I move this, watch how it right? Okay, so that's what we have for that. All right, so that's for the gathering. This is when your character is drawing the energy in. All right, so now I'm sorry, the only thing I don't want in there is the particle. I messed up. I don't want the particle gather. I don't want the particle gather. So let me click this, and I'm going to unpair those two. I want to clear that parent. I want it in here. I want it in there, but I don't want it as part of the thing. I just want this by itself because this is going to be off. I'm never going to use it. The particle will continue to show. I don't need to render that. All right, you see how they just look like they popping out? Like, that's too cool. Okay. All right, so with that being said, now let's go to the others. All right, so I'm gonna turn this off. Now the best way to turn all of those parts off is to hold shift and click. Now you see nothing there. All right, so I'm gonna go to the beam. The beam is now understand the orb, this orb, let me go here. The beam, the orb is the only one I'm not going to give a particle system to. All right, but the beam will have a particle system. Okay, so we're gonna go into the beam. We're gonna click. I'm gonna go to circle. Then gonna rotate. We're gonna go ahead and hit that rotation so that it stays that way. So now we clear out a rotation. And I'm going to expand it a little because I wanted to have this. I'm gonna make it fan out. All right. So, excuse me. The best way to do this is not to hit F. I find a lot of times people will just feel it and then poke the face, which is fine. But I'm gonna go into edit mode, and what I'm gonna do is hit E, Y, and then I'm gonna push it back to a certain extent, and I'm gonna do it again, E, Y. All right. So and then I'll take the proportional edit off, and then scale it down. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna scale it real close to closed, like really close to closed. All right. All right. So we can't see in there, but it's not gonna be completely closed. And then I'm gonna select it, and I'm going to Control B, bevel. All right. Okay. And this one I'm gonna bring it down a little bit. So I'm gonna GG and bring it down a little. Alright, same thing with this one. I just want to kind of create a little bit of a break. Alright, so I'm creating all this extra geometry. You don't have to. You can make it smoother than that. Alright, so now understand its center is here. We don't want that. I want its center to be there. So I'm gonna come back into wireframe mode. Alright. I'm gonna put the 3D cursor there, and then I'm gonna bring this, boom. Okay, so now, mind you, I'm going to still take this thing and push it back some, okay, just a little. Now, this is going to have the same thing as the emitter part, okay? I do not want this seam, so I'm gonna give it the same emitter, all right? However, this particular piece or part, which is apparently in the wrong thing, it's supposed to be up here, make sure it's in the right collection. This is going to be our beam particles. Okay, so we're gonna call that beam particles. I'll cap this off again, but it's fine. Okay, and then I'm come down here, and what I want to do is I'm going to bring back this particle. I'm going to use it again, but this time I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to bring it in here because I want to use that particle again, but this time I'm just going to call it particle beam. All right. And then I'm going to use that for this. So we have a whole separate particle now. All right, go back to this, come into particles, and I'm going to give it maybe the same amount, 2500. I'm going to start it at 1. I'm going to do the same thing that we did before. Everything's going to be about the same. On this one, I might make this 60 at the lifetime, and then I'm going to go into velocity. and I'm gonna bring this up to 1.3, okay, on the normal. All right, so I want it to be kind of fast. So go into object, and then I'm gonna go wanted to have the particle beam, and then instead of changing the size on that, I'm just gonna probably leave it the same. I might change it. Matter of fact, let me take it to 0.06. Okay, so now there is one difference here. Is this time the field weights, the gravity is still on. We're gonna take the gravity off, so when we play it, it goes out crazy, right? But the difference here is this: I want to use force to push those particles forward. I want the particles to come from the face like they're doing, but I'm going to use a force field. So we're going to click, I'm going to go to force field, and this time I'm going to use wind. Okay, I'm going to take that wind and we're going to turn it -90, because apparently that's the wrong way. All right, and then back into the physics properties, and I'm going to play this. Let's see how strong those are, right? Okay, so I don't want it to be so strong that it just, you're gonna have an inflow. The inflow literally will snatch all the energy out of it. Okay, so those particles are actually going too far. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change those particles. They're going too far. Let's bring them down to about 30. Start over, go. Yeah, there we go. So to me, it's still not enough of them. So I'm gonna bring them up to about 10 grand. Yes, my machine can handle 10,000 or more. I can handle like 1,000,000 particles. All right, so there we go. So now let me turn this off real quick so we can see. So now you have like that energy bursting from the back of it as the person's firing off. Now you could use something to be more colorful. Like for instance, with this actual object, right? So let me push that object forward. Push it into it a little bit. Matter of fact, just push it back to its normal spot. And then when you see it, because of how it's pulling back, it'll work just fine. So it looks like it's coming directly from the actual beam. And that's what we want to do right there. So that's the effect, okay? Now, you could make it a little straighter or whatnot. Like a good example, I could come in and add a vortex force field. And how in the world? Yeah, I don't understand what just happened there. Can somebody please help me? All right, let me see here. Now I do not know why that did that, but it did it. Okay, so I'm gonna bring in a vortex. All right, I'm gonna turn it 90. All right, and then watch what happens when I turn this on. So the vortex will start to turn it. As I go up, it will take those particles and pull them in more. Okay, so now you have that effect. But if I leave it at like 1, it's just enough. So if I pull the inflow in, the inflow starts to pull it towards itself. So that's why we really don't use that much. But yeah, so let's see if I go to like 0.85. There we go. So we get a little spill off, and that's not bad because when you think about it, I can take these particles and let's make those particles bigger. So let's go back to particles. Let's make the particles a little bit bigger. Where is it? Render. All right, so let's say 0.1. All right. So we have those particles at 0.1, which most people probably would do, just make them bigger. And there you go. And I'm still almost running at 30 frames a second because that's what I'm sitting at, 30 frames a second. All right. Okay, so with that being said, turn this off. Now we can see those particles flowing out, but I want them to move a little faster. So we're gonna go back. So I'm gonna go back to velocity, and I'm gonna go 3. All right, and that's also gonna make them go further. You see what happened there? All right, so that makes it a lot bigger. But if I come back to say 0.5, right, and it stays pretty much where it's at. So that's why I go up as high as I go. So let's say 2 on the normal. So yeah, so it's coming more from the actual physical mesh when the more you mess with the velocity. All right, because the source is the faces. Okay. All right, so that's what we have for that. All right, so now let me turn all this back on. I'll go back to 0. All right, so again, same thing. Select all these parts except for the particle. Select the last thing. Control P object. All right, close them, and then we want that particle beam to be down there by itself. Now, again, I'm gonna click. Oh, wait a minute. I turned that off by itself. I want to turn the whole. thing off. All right, so now again, this is the only thing that I'm not going to do all the extra with. So because it's not as bright, let me go back in and brighten it up more, because it should be like 60. There we go. All right, so, or with a 30, yeah, 60 seems like a good number for this. All right, so that means now I would probably finesse this a little bit more to get that darkness back at the edge. I don't want the gray down there, so pull that back some more. Yeah, there we go. Yes, sir, there we go. So it's floating and flying now. So yeah, there you go. So you see that, right? So let's check our time. 39 minutes. I think that's not too bad. So now we can probably put this into effect real quick with someone. So let's do that. Let's go back into the layout. I'm going to cut that off. We said this is skill, so we're going to turn skill off. Let's turn skill, and everything comes back on at one time, so I'm cut it all off. Because even if I come back in and click this, I still have to click each one of those. All right, so I'm going to click this. I'm going to bring in a character, and I'll probably bring in a character animation. So let's bring in the character. Matter of fact, let's bring in someone you may be familiar with. All right, so I feel like a good character to bring in. Matter of fact, I'm in the wrong one. There we go. Let's bring in. Do I have him? Is he ready though? Is he ready? I don't know if he's ready. Let's see if my boy Krillin is ready. I don't think he's ready. I don't think oh, he is ready. My boy Krillin is ready. Okay. So because he's the direction he's in, I'm gonna turn him around. All right. So Krillin is ready. I'm gonna delete this. I don't need all that. All right, so I don't think he is his eyes there. Yep. So my boy Krillin is ready. We're gonna rock my boy Krillin here. All right. So I'm gonna hide this armature real quick. I think it's funny how the back of him is lit up when there's no lights at the scene. Because I'm using that. Let me do that one instead. There we go. All right. Okay. So now, my boy Krillin in the scene. We're gonna find the animation for the Kamehameha. I believe I have it, so don't quote me on that. We're just going to try to find it. So I know I have a blast animation, but I don't think it's that one. I may have to import an FBX. So let me create a collection for that. I'm going to call it animations. I always have a little organization, people. And I know you probably heard this in plenty of tutorials. I'm not calling this a tutorial for a reason, but nonetheless, always do that. All right, so animation, default animations, no. Where is it? Matter of fact, go into here. Is it this one? Nope, this one. This one. I think animations was right there. Anyway, all right. So let's see here. I think gotta find it. I'm trying to move a little bit faster than I have been. FBX. Nope, none of that. All right. Trying to find it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I think it is in the defaults because they were. I have to remember where this stuff is because I just be going, man. No, that's not the right one. Because I made it my business not to put that one in here for some reason. Don't ask me why. I just didn't. So I think I need to go get it. So bear with me then. Let's go and get it. All right. So Zuza, where would it be? Yeah, I know where to go. Okay. So let's go into the file. Just gonna go straight to the guy himself. All right, so we gotta go to his EAN. I'm gonna open up my organizer. Still have to wait on it a little bit, but nonetheless, that's the whole point of trying to man, I don't know which one it is. Oh, I'm in the wrong thing. Hold on, go back. Skill. I went to the wrong thing. Anyway, it's a super and it's right here. There we go. So I need the EAN. There it is. Yep. Is it the right one? Nope, it's not. This is. Okay. There we go. Boom. All right. So I'm going to export that. I'm gonna delete this one. And we're gonna save this one, and I want to save it. I'm gonna save it in the folder I need it in. Alright, so let's go and just create a new folder called skills. Alright, skills, and let's do alright, the Kamehameha. Alright, so I'm gonna just call it Kame. Alright, so that's saved there. I'm gonna close this. I'm gonna go back to that folder. Alright, where are we at? Where are we at? I have to think sometimes about what I'm doing. Alright, skills here. Alright, now this is the funny part about this, because now I have to go into another folder. Okay, I'm gonna drop this EAN on the EMD FBX. Boom, now we have FBX out. I'm gonna call it Kame. And then boom, now we can go back into Blender. Come on, Blender. Now I'm gonna see my time, 45 minutes. All right, so now I've got the skill. I can come in and bring in that FBX. FBX. Okay, so now I want the animation to be in the same direction as him, so I have a preset that I have. It makes it Z forward, Y up. Import the animation. All right, so the animation is still in the wrong direction. I think I got him in the wrong direction. Hold on. Krillin came in correctly, and I switched him around. You know what, y'all? Y'all let me do that. He says this is 360 degrees. Wow. All right. Okay, so all right. Now let's go ahead and get his rotation right, because he came in correctly. All right, we're gonna slide him over to the side because we are not gonna use him completely, but we know for a fact it starts like that. All right, pull this up, make sure there's only just that one animation. All right, it's not starting on one, so we're gonna push it on one. I know I can click him and instantly use it. Okay, so now there's a problem. Let's fix that problem. I'm gonna click that, come out, go over here. We're gonna go to vertex groups. I'm going to remove assign, and boom, we're done. All right. Now, being as he is way up there, I'm going to do a little fix, which has something to do with, I think I'm gonna use either it'd be his base or his, should I use his base? Yeah, I'll use his base. So I'm gonna create a, no, I'll just do it right here. Oop, I'll just do it right here. I need to grab, because I want him on the ground. I don't want him in the air. So you'll have to give me a second here. Just pardon me. I don't want him on the. I don't want him in the air. All right. All right. So I start moving both of them. All right. So let me. Did I make it new? Yeah. Okay. There it is. All right. All right, so he's on the ground now. We just want him to do his thing. There we go. All right. So now, since we have our animation, we can turn that off. I'm going to get rid of this. All right. All right, I don't need him, so I'm gonna turn that off. Okay, so I'm just gonna call this Creel Kame. All right. Now, with the skills being off, I'm going to bring in the starter. So I'm going to cut it on. We see that it is gigantic, but remember, all these things are set together, so I can make it smaller. All right, and it'll still work just the same. Okay, so you don't worry about that. Now, one of the things I think is a trip is how these vortexes are still on. All right, there we go. Because yeah. All right, because each thing, you don't want each thing to interrupt with the next thing. All right, so I'm gonna toggle. Each one of those things are gonna be toggled differently. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna do two things. I'm not gonna use this one, I'm just gonna use the beam, but I'm gonna use the beam without the particles, okay? Well, I'm gonna use the beam with the particles because I'm gonna generate for the Kamehameha, right? So he's pulling back. So understand, this snapped me to 60. So we're gonna go to 30 and make it a little slower. Right? All right. So he's gonna hold it a little longer. All right. Okay. So now let me get this. I need to bring back his skeleton. I'm going to pick this middle finger. Yep. All right. Click boom. I'm gonna grab this and we're gonna push this to his middle finger. All right. And we're gonna find where he starts. So he starts here, right? You're gonna start gathering there, right? All right. So let's do that again. All right. Click this again. Go there. Bring it in. Because the particles already started, I don't want the I don't want the particles to start just yet. So let's go to the particle, and I'm gonna change this to 20, right? Okay. So now this is why I don't have to fight with it, and I'm just gonna find wrong thing. Click the right thing. All right. So now we're gonna put it right where it should be. All right. Now this is the thing. Watch what I do. Now I'm gonna go to constraint child of. We're gonna make it part of this right here, and we're gonna go to middle, and it's gonna be on the right, middle one. All right, set inverse. Now when he goes to move, it should stay pretty close by, but it's gonna still be kind of far back. So I don't understand why, but it does. All right, so I'm gonna animate it still, even though I set it like right there, right? Okay, so yeah. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is come in here. I want location and scale. We don't want rotation. All right, so we're gonna go location, scale. We're gonna pull back a little bit, find it again. Because now it's gonna be close to the center of his hand. Turn this on. Couple of steps. Use your arrow keys, people. Use your arrow keys. All right. Alright, now I like that right there, because now it's starting to it's coming out a little bit more, and it's like, hey, I'm about to get ready to tear somebody a new one. Alright, push it forward a little bit. Alright, push that back up some. It's still following his hand, but not as much as I would like it to. Alright, so now the next thing is, since we know that it's going to start at a certain point, I'm going to take this, I'm going to hit location and scale. I'm going to make this 0 real quick. Come on, man. 0. So now once it pop up, bam, boom, 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 boom. So right here, I want this to come up a little bit more, because that's too close to the bottom end. There we go. Then I'm going to change the emitter time to 10, right? So we come back and it's like, right? Okay, so I think on this emitter, since it's different now, the pieces seem a bit large on this emitter. So I'm gonna go like 0.03 on this one. All right. Random 0.3, go. All right, let's turn this off. All right, so now I'm gonna let him keep that in his hand. Now the thing is since those bottom colors aren't as bright, I'm gonna go find those colors. Where we at? Because I think they're what? Yeah, the strength isn't that bright. So let's say 20, 30. Yeah, 30's good. There we go. So boom. All right, so now we see clearly it's close to where I want it to be, but not as much. So let me push this down a little bit. I'm pushing forward some, because now the beam is going to come from that Even though now you see how he's pushing back, pushing back, pushing back, and he's gonna start to pull. So I'm gonna go ahead, location scale right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's gonna disappear. Oh Lord, where am I? Oh. All right, so let me location scale and then come over here and 0. Now the particles have to start to end, so now we kind of see where we need to end the particles. So I'll end the particles at like 111. Nope, I'll do it at like 109. Oh, let's say 108. All right. So when it goes, boom. Yeah, so I like that. Okay, so now the next step is to deal with the magnet and the force field. So come in, we're gonna click it. Let's check our time. We're at 54 minutes. Okay, so what I'm gonna do with this here is I'm gonna animate it, start, because I know that this pops up at 10. I mean at 8, right? So it boom is at 8. The particles start at 10. Okay, so what I want to do is start its particles when it pops up. So I'm gonna click this and start it. Come back and I'm gonna take it to 0. Now let me explain why. Because the other part when it comes in will be affected by this, by the actual strength of this force field. So long as it's going, we're good. And then once it gets ready to stop, and run about what 105, I'll just cut it off. Okay, so I'm gonna click here, and then I'm just gonna go 1, 2, and then go to 0. And I'm gonna do likewise for the turbulence. The turbulence, since it's, I'll just go back 2 steps, hit 1, go forward 2 steps, go 0. All right, come back. We take this all the way back to 8. Like I said, the first one I did the same thing. I'll turn it on. At 1, nothing. All right, boom, and it's on and it's doing its job. Then it no longer needs to do its job. Okay, all right. So now we have that now, right? So let's see it from afar. Okay, and this is like wild. Like look how wild those particles are. I think they're too big now. So let's go and let's bring them down some. I'll bring them down some. So let's say 30. I think it's still too much. 20. Yeah, that's better. Because it's closer to the character now. So yeah, that's way better. All right. Okay, so now since that's there, now guess what we need? Now we have to bring in the beam. So I'm going to bring the beam in, cut everything on. Oh my goodness. It was just crazy how they just showed up. Okay, so let's click the beam. We know we don't need the particle, so we're going to cut it off. I'll go to the beam, open up everything. And what I want to do is click this beam, and then where he goes and actually launches the blast. Let me turn this off real quick so I can see, because it's already flying. Okay, so I know he's gonna blast here. So let's use our arrow. Boom. So we know right there is pop. So I want this to appear right there. So I'm gonna click the beam. Since everything's gonna move with it, I'm gonna go to the side. All right, we'll pull it up a little bit. Go forward because I don't want him. Let's turn this off for a second so I can see. All right, because that is bright. All right, so again, this is a gigantic shot. All right, so this little guy is making such a big bit of noise, right? All right, so since this is here, all those parts are connected. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna locate. Location scale. I'm gonna go back 1 because I only needed to pop up at that moment. So I'm gonna come over here. I'm gonna location scale again, and I'm gonna go 0. All right. Okay. So now that means all those things are gone. And then once he goes back to a certain point. Now let's arrow until he's stopping, because I know he's moving backward, and I intend to make that blast go all the way, start to follow him backward. Okay. So as it's following him, we know what it's doing. All right, so now like 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so I know here I want it to start to go away, and I'm cool with it being 4 frames. Okay, so it's like, as you see it visibly disappear, like, all right, okay, so boom. All right, so now since we go here at 54, that means I also need to change how the particles start. Okay, so let's go back to the particle start. We're going to have the particles start at 53. Explain why. The reason why I'm gonna have them start at 53 is so that they start when it blasts. So once it comes on at 54, it's already running. All right, I already know I need to pull back some. So around about 105, So about 103, I'm gonna make it stop. Okay, so it'll stop playing at that time. I'm gonna bring this down to about 20. And oh, there we go, yeah. All right, so 54, I know it starts. So the vortex needs to come on at 54, so I'm gonna go ahead and hit that. I'm gonna turn it off at 53, 0. I'm gonna go ahead and click the wind. I'm gonna push it back 1. I'm gonna click it, hit I. Go back one more, go back that 1 frame and click it, and then at like 105, I'll turn it, no, 103. Yeah, I'll do that, and then for 2 frames and then cut it off. Same thing here, go back 2 frames, hit it, cut it off. All right, so now we should have our animation ready and we should be primed to start. So let's cut it back on. Let's push in a little bit. We're gonna pull up behind them a little bit. We don't want to be too close, right? And then go. Like, dude, like. Okay, so that's not bad. Like, yeah. Okay, so let's see the front. Man, look at this. Okay, so that particle, one of these particles is showing, and I don't want it showing. Where is it? Is it this one? Yeah, go away. All right, and the other one's showing. Why is it showing? All right. Oh, I know why, because I cut the collection off. All right, like that's a lot of blast for one little guy, right? But you see clearly how this is working, right? So if I go back and let's say it stops in like 130, I'll clip it at 130, and then let's just let it run back and forth. So I'm gonna push this down. Boom. So just let it keep running. Yeah. Right. Okay. So. And there you have it. So this is just one way to do it, and it's all procedurally done, and it can still be a cool effect, and you don't have to use 2D effects to make the effect. And yes, Blender is fully capable of doing more than 20 particles. With that being said, number love, y'all. Holler at y'all later. Hope you enjoyed.